everyone and good evening, and I have to start by saying hello. Thank you all for taking time to be here this evening for the Hello and DLF Promenade Style Talk Series 101. Hello is one of India's leading lifestyle and celebrity magazine, and like we do it every year, we kick off the festive season with something very fashionable every year. This year, we decided to do a little bit of a master class with some leading designers across 2 days, which is today and tomorrow. And the first session, of course, is with one of my favorites and somebody so innovative, so different, and so with it today, Rimzim Dadu. So may I please call upon Rimzim Dadu, who probably has been the flavor of the season, as you all know. Hi Rimzim, welcome. Rimzim, as you would know, is known for, like they say, her textile is at the heart of everything. She has reinvented textiles, fabrics, and other materials and made them so fashionable that today they are literally a very bespoke style statement. Rimzim, I love what you're wearing as well today. But coming from a very strong fashion background, she decided to carve a niche for herself, work with materials, make them into fabrics, design them into stylish outfits, and she is the rage today. So we are absolutely privileged to have Rimzim Dadu in conversation with another equally stylish person, but an artist. So an artist who has not just an eye for art, but an eye for fashion. And when you mix art and fashion together, it's fatal and deadly. So I have with us today, artist and fashion and art influencer, Bahar. Hi Bahar. Bahar Rotki in conversation with Rimzim Dadu. Oh my God, this is going to be absolutely eclectic. Rimzim and Bahar are going to talk about innovation. They're going to talk about how art meets fashion, how art inspires fashion, and what makes you so unique. So I'm leaving the forum to both of you. Let me say, okay guys, the stunning Bahar is an outfit from Rimzim. And of course, Rimzim looks super as chic that it is. So black and white is the color of the day. I see that. Lovely. So leaving it to both of you to kind of educate me especially and everybody else, how do you do it so beautifully? And this is, by the way, a material, not a fabric. You're going to tell us how you do it.
Sure, absolutely, 100%. You want to take this?
Yeah, okay. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we have the amazing Rimzim Dadu. You all know her a bit, but I took the liberty to reach out to her team and get to know her a little better. So I'm just going to read a few lines about her journey, because I don't know if many of you knew that she has completed 15 years in the fashion industry. She's very young herself, and 15 years of innovation and progressive textures. So Rimzim Dadu, the brand, is a living archive of designers' innovation through surface textures. Discarding convention, the design philosophy is a homage to traditional weaves by way of innovative materials, deconstruction, and re-engineering. It's a process which is very close to my heart, because that's exactly what I do as an artist. So I love her creations all the way more. The brand fills a gap in the homegrown category with ready-to-wear segment with its line of handcrafted clothing that has received national and global recognition for its progressive surface texturing. Yeah, that's exactly what her technique is known as, the progressive texturing. Rimzim's process is in itself an art form. And her clothes are pieces of art, and they are super futuristic, as you can tell what I'm wearing. She's constantly breaking norms and traditions. Textile innovation has been the core of her brand identity, and while her aesthetics have been global, she has ensured that she delves into India's rich textile heritage for inspiration. I mean, who's not familiar with her steel wire saris? Her interpretation of the patola, by the way, in leather was showcased at the London's Victoria and Albert Museum, and her unique take on the silicone jamdani is part of the Google's digital art collection. Rimzim's unique way of presentation and storytelling adds another dimension. She not only floors us with her clothes, but she also combines immersive light installations and virtual reality, so her creations and shows cannot be missed. Some of us were lucky enough to witness her monumental show after her completion of 15 years at the Kiranada Museum, and I think it was spectacular. I know a lot of faces who were there, and we all congratulate
Thank
you,
you.
and we can't help but celebrate you together because this is such a contribution to the Indian textile industry as well.
Thank you, Bahar.
Okay, so before much ado, we'll jump right into to the questions and ask Rimzim about what she feels about her journey and the future of fashion. So Rimzim, you're known to use unconventional methods and materials. Can you tell us what inspired to take this and adopt this as your trademark style?
So I get this a lot because, like a lot of people think that I work with a lot of unconventional materials. I mean, like, why would anybody sort of think of doing clothes out of steel? But for me, this is fine. This is fine, yeah. Yes. But for me, actually, this is echoing still. Should I take this? इसको आप ऑफ ये अटैच्ड है
Hello. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people ask me, like, what inspires you to, like, use these unconventional materials? And for a lot of people, like, why would you make saris out of steel and, like, use all these, like, psycho materials? But for me, this is something that comes very naturally to me. So, like, when I graduated from college, I was a bit of a rebel. And I never used to go to fabric markets for sourcing, how, like, once you start a collection, you go to fabric markets to source materials and fabrics. And I used to always like going to offbeat places like, scrap markets or hardware shops or karkhanas. And I think that's where my fascination for like picking up unique materials came. And I was never inspired by, let's say, like just picking up a fabric and like cutting and stitching a garment out of it. I always liked to like sort of push the boundaries more and more and like create my own textiles with which I could like sort of mold them around the human form, and that's what like really inspired me. So I would say it's just like a little bit of that rebel streak that I have in me that I never wanted to like just pick up fabrics and create something out of fabrics.
I won't say it's a rebel, you're just blurring the lines between a fashion designer and an artist, and it's so fascinating because I share the same experience. We'll talk about that later, but I want to really understand what is your design process like?
So my design process, like I get a lot of sort of hate for it as well because it's not a linear sort of design process. So it's not like, usually when you start a collection, you'll prepare some sketches and then give it to your master Gs for construction, but like, and it's not linear for me at all. Like for me, my design process can sometimes take years for it to actually come through. For example, this steel sari actually was in R&D mode for about a year before like we actually even developed the textile. So for me, it's first about like finding a material, just doing a lot of R&D. How do I break that material apart and put it back together? For example, this piece that you're wearing, it's actually re-engineered with, it's faux leather, but it's been broken apart into these dories that you can see and then hand woven back together. So my design process is not linear. It's not like, I think of a collection, I make sketches and that goes into production. It's a lot of like research on creating new textiles and working with different materials. My team likes to call our studio a lab.
Yeah, if this is that sturdy, I would use it as a hammock.
So yeah, my team likes to call my studio a lab because we're always doing like these mad experiments there. And my cardigans are like little scientists.
So are there any accidents or it's always a journey where, the desired results will be achieved?
there are always accidents. I feel like we have like 100 failed experiments and then we have like one thing that works. And I think that's the beauty of like working with something that nobody has ever worked with before, right? So it's
There are
not
accidental discoveries as
there
well.
are accidental discoveries. There's always like, you know, like nobody can teach you how to, let's say, like stitch steel. Nobody can teach you how to stitch silicone. You have to create your own process. You have to create your own methods. You have to see, for example, how do you construct it? How do you finish it? How do you line it? How does someone travel with it? Like, you know, if you have to put it in a suitcase and travel with it, how does one travel with it? How does one sit in a car and get out of the car with it? So, you know, there's a lot of like functional elements that goes into designing, which, and yeah, there are like 100 failed experiments and then one thing that clicks.
So what does innovation mean to you as a designer?
For me, innovation is, you know, just always pushing the boundary of what's known and treading into a space of unknown, unfamiliar, and, you know, creating something that hasn't been created before. And I think that's, for me, innovation.
How do you keep yourself abreast with the new techniques or materials in the market?
I don't actually. I don't. I'm not at all updated with what's happening in the market, what are the latest trends, what are the latest materials. So every time like people ask me what are the latest trends, I'm like completely zoned out because I'm...
You setting the trends.
Yeah, so I'm never updated with what's the latest out there.
Okay, since your karigars use a lot of handwork and hand-woven materials, what does sustainable fashion actually mean to you in today's date?
So, you know, I feel sustainability is such an important topic right now, but I also feel that it's very like misinterpreted as well. Like a lot of people think that sustainable is an aesthetic. For example, let's say a lot of people feel, for example, just handloom is sustainable, and probably a lot of people wouldn't look at this and call it sustainable. But, you know, for me, sustainability goes beyond an aesthetic. For me, it's a design process, and it's, you know, how you sort of approach your design practice. There are a lot of like smaller things that you have to incorporate, and, you know, we're not a big sort of high street brand, and it's only like smaller steps that we can take to include sustainability in our design practice. For example, I feel one thing that's very close to my design practice and that I always ensure is, you know, longevity in whatever we're creating. For example, let's say the steel sari, not just how long it lasts in terms of a product, but also, you know, we first made the steel sari in 2016. How can we ensure that whatever we're creating is still relevant 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
I've seen you reinvent it over the years, again
Yes.
and again. It's become like part of your language.
Exactly. So, you know, the whole idea is that somebody who shopped, who invested their money in a piece from us in 2016 shouldn't feel that, you know, it's outdated in 2022. And I feel that's a very important aspect of sustainability. For example, you know, like Apple always comes up with like a new version, a new phone every year, and you feel like throwing your old phone and getting the new one. But for me, you know, I feel I need to do the opposite. I need to make sure that somebody who's purchased something in 2016 still feels that they're holding on to a piece which is
Part of a legacy or a heritage.
absolutely,
which stays with
absolutely,
you.
yeah. And you know, the funny thing is that even though, let's say the steel sari is now about like 6 to 7 years old, it still is futuristic. It still is ahead of its time. And for me, that is something very important. That
Yeah, I remember wearing your gold steel wire sari for my light box installations, which finally went to New York, which I least expected it. But that sari, everybody like had featured it, and they kept asking me, "Who's the designer?" I mean, I was supposed to be the artist, but everyone's focus was on the sari. That's amazing. So they actually asked me if the sari was part of the art installation
Wow,
that I was
that's
doing. Okay. Having said this, how can we as consumers be more responsible and sustainable with our fashion choices?
I feel, like I said, you know, like you have to think when you're making a choice, it has to be a long-term choice. It can't just be, you know, this party that I have to go to and let me quickly shop for this event that I have to go to. And we all have this like guilty sort of like indulgence, you know, we all get this craving to like indulge once in a while. And I think once in a while it's okay. But, you know, like as long as most of our fashion choices are more long-term, you know, like let's try to like sort of pick up pieces that can be styled multiple ways, that are more versatile. And again, that's something that we're very conscious of when we design. Like how can one piece be styled multiple ways? For example, this jacket that I'm wearing right now, like I've tied it as a jacket, I can like open it as a cape, I can wear it with pants, I can style it multiple ways, I can dress it up, dress it down. And for me, that's very important when I'm designing something, that can you get multiple wears out of it and you're not just stuck with like one piece. And I think as fashion consumers, when we're going out to shop, that's something that we should all be very conscious about.
Do you think in the near future, I'm just curious, would you take back your Rimzim Dadu creations and refurbish it and probably sell it back to us at better rates?
I mean, that's something I've never thought about, but sure,
But it's
that's a good idea.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
That's a good idea,
the materials are durable, they're sustainable, and I
Absolutely.
think it completely matches the ethos of your
I
brand.
have actually done that on request for like personal private clients where, you know, they've like sort of, they're like, okay, can we now convert this into a drape? You know, can we convert this now into a top? And, you know, I mean, for like a lot of friends I've done that. But
I would be happy to hammer a part of your fabric and put it on the wall and call it art. Because it is progressive textures, your pattern method. It is so lovely speaking to you, Rimzim. If anybody in the audience has any questions and wants to know more about Rimzim's journey or her process, please feel free to ask her. The floor is yours.
of course.
I'm actually really curious, when you came up with your line of bag and shoes, I was wondering whether was it a process because you had things left over, or was it because you wanted to complete your outfit better?
I'm sure both.
Thank you, Neerja. That was actually a very strategic sort of choice for us to get into accessories, simply because we wanted to, it was a business decision because we wanted to hit a price point that, you know, and make our brand more accessible to people. So it was more strategic, but also, you know, it was one of those things that when I go out to shop for bags in India, I'm just like, where do I go? And like, you know, so it was also like filling that gap. So yeah, that was, it wasn't made out of scraps for sure. Yeah.
But if there are any scraps, please send them over. Are any of your materials recyclable? I'm just wondering.
So, you know, the thing is that the materials per se that we use are not recyclable. A lot of materials we use are recycled already. But I don't know how you would be able to recycle.
Eco-friendly.
Yeah. But I don't know how you'd be able to recycle them again, though.
Derivative art. I'll take all the scraps and I'll hammer it on the wall. I'll be very happy. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. If anyone else has any questions over her process or journey.
Sorry guys, I'm a little intrigued. Okay, so what I'm trying, like, you know, in magazine speak, we say that something is very editorial. The work that you do, the creations that you have are very editorial. Do you find that on a regular basis you're battling this perception of making it, you know, like having it be just editorial versus a lay person walking into your store and wearing it and knowing how to wear it? Is that something that you're having to deal with on a regular basis, or do you feel like you don't even think about it at all?
So, you know, when I first introduce a concept, I think everybody, including my own studio and my team, everybody feels that are we just creating something editorial, like, or, you know, is it actually going to work on the racks? But, and you know, a lot of people have this sort of, they're a bit intimidated. Like a lot of, you know, the regular audience that we meet who are shopping, you know, a lot of people are intimidated by, you know, they feel like, okay, it looks amazing, but they feel intimidated to get into the garments. And I feel from our end as a brand, we love to educate our audience about our product. And, you know, it's this huge misconception that it's for a certain size only, and that's what we educate our clients a lot about, that, you know, you just have to try it on, and actually it's a huge misconception that big people can't wear it, it's only for small people. In fact, it's the opposite, you know, like, in fact, like, because our clothes are so structured and fluid at the same time, it really is about how you wear them. You can make it structured, you can make it fluid. And, you know, that's an education process that we're constantly having at all our retail outlets and through our social media. And, so, I mean, I do get that a lot, that, you know, your pieces are slightly intimidating, and I get where people are coming from.
In fact, I would say you've really blurred the line between being that risk taker and innovating constantly, and also ensuring that the line is actually ready to wear, and it goes with every personality, because you've done saris, dresses, I think jackets, and every futuristic silhouette that I could think of, but there's something for everybody at your store, and that's what is the best
That's
part.
the idea, because I feel like, you know, as a consumer, you have to feel good in whatever you're wearing. And that's an education exercise that we constantly do at the store to, you know, like, people who are intimidated by the concept of getting into something made out of steel, to like actually make them try and like actually make them appreciate. And so many times people have come back and, you know, in fact, all the time they come back and they're just like sharing pictures, and they're like, we couldn't imagine that it would be like this. It's so light, it looks heavy, it looks armor-like, but it's actually really soft, really fluid, really light. And yeah, I think, and you know, like that deception I really like in my clothes, that sense of deception, that they look like armors, but they're actually really soft and fluid. And that's something that I actually really enjoy in my clothes.
You know, I've been wearing your clothes for a few years now, and I have to say, they've given me the opportunity to unravel a new dimension to myself, because I've worn all the silhouettes possible. So I think all of you must try the entire range if possible, not just, you know, whatever she offers or in one collection, because her entire collection through the years, it's actually timeless.
Thank you. And you know, actually, the thing is that when I started out, I didn't imagine that, you know, we never like sort of started out as trying to do bridal. But you know, when brides come to you who want to wear clothes made out of steel, then you get that like vote of validation. You're like, yes, okay, now brides are like wearing steel clothes, so you must be doing something right.
Yeah.
So, and the audience has actually evolved so much. Like, can you imagine like brides wearing steel? So I think that's something that, you know, kind of makes me very happy, how far the audience has evolved as well.
The human eye is trained to notice what is different, and the bride wants to stand out, then
Absolutely.
where do you go? Rimzim Dadu.
No, but like I think the days of those coy bride are gone, you know, like absolutely gone. Like nobody wants to be that shy coy bride, like just donning a particular look. But they all want to just express themselves and like have their personality talk. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Rimzim. This
Thank
was
you,
so insightful.
Thank you.
I need a mic? Okay, so you've been in the industry now for 15 years, but how long did it take you to sort of find your aesthetic or find that first material to experiment with? Because I'm studying design, and it takes a minute to sort of find that first material when, you know, you have to create a new textile, but you don't know where to start or what to do. Or, you know, this is something that nobody has done before, so just basically, how
I
did you
feel
find
like
your niche? How long did it take to find your niche?
It took me a while, I'll be honest, because, you know, it's the best, the easiest thing you can do is not put any pressure on yourself and like give yourself the time, because I started out when I was 21. And, you know, you obviously evolve as a person, you know, your design aesthetics evolve, everything evolves when you're 21 to like going forward. And I think you just have to be true to yourself in that very moment that you are in, like sort of just keep exploring and experimenting till you get there. It does take time, and the best thing you can do is like allow yourself that time.
And we see the authenticity all the way. Any more questions? We good? Okay. Over to Ruchika.
I'm going to ask one last question before we kind of close this session. So Rimzim, you've come a long way. You're already there. What next?
What next? I've been wanting to go on a holiday, which has not happened because of my baby, so hopefully that. But in terms of work, there's a lot that I want to do. In the past few years, we've started new verticals, which is menswear, which is doing really well for us. We've started accessories, bags and shoes, which is doing really well for us. We've gotten into couture, bridal.
So you got into accessories as well?
Yes, bags and shoes, couture.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Thank you. So the next few years, we definitely want to, experiment with new verticals. We definitely want to get into home textiles. That's next on our map. And, so taking the whole art and textile thing further, we want to get into textile sculptures. So, that's next on the map.
Super. That's a lot. I was just going to say that. So there is art and the collaboration is already right here on the stage. We are going to absolutely doing that. And how do you unwind? What do you do besides this? Besides being around so many beautiful, how do you take time off when you're not thinking about your clothes?
How do I unwind? At the moment, I unwind with my little baby. But other than that, I would usually just like to switch my brain off to unwind, just watch a lot of mindless stuff on Netflix, and that's what I do to unwind.
Mindless, they're not going to be happy hearing that. Bahar, you're an artist and very fashionable as well. How does fashion inspire you as an artist? I'm asking the other way around.
I don't know, I just feel like I get inspired by anything and everything. And for me, fashion is not just about apparel, it's about wearing art. And it should show on my face. It's like a state of mind. So it's such a seamless connection. It's like the chicken and egg story. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg.
I like the fact about wearing art. We say fashion on your sleeve, you're wearing art. That's a very nice combination. And that's why, friends, we had Bahar talk to Rimzim in conversation with, because there's a huge synergy between the way they both think, the way they both get inspired. And Bahar, of course, has been literally like a muse. She's been like, you must have heard, she follows.
I started wearing her clothes when I was very much a lawyer, and I used to wear black and white silhouettes to all the judges and lawyers' parties, and they used to think like, wow, who's this space cadet? So it's so futuristic.
It is so futuristic, and I believe that's why all the judgments came in your favor.
I hope so. Luckily, transcended to the happier side of things, being an artist.
But that was absolutely enlightening and enriching. Thank you so much, both of you, for sparing time. And that was really, we need to do this more often. Rimzim, I heard so many new things about you, so much more to learn from you, and I think we're going to keep getting you back again.